Radicalization is the greatest threat we face, or so we were told. And while national security experts have also recently labeled white supremacist groups as radical, Muslims are the original and paradigmatic bearers of this term. The post-9/11 era gave rise to the emerging discipline of radicalization studies. Experts, typically white, non-Muslim social scientists, now dedicated themselves to studying how and why Muslims became radical. Lorenzo Vidino, director of the program on extremism at George Washington University, explains that radicalization is the term of art used by academics and policymakers to describe the process that an individual undergoes when he embraces an extremist ideology, and then, in some cases, undertakes acts of violence in furtherance of that ideology. Radicalization studies emphasizes a whole host of social and individual factors that might serve as causal variables in a Muslim's trajectory toward embracing a jihadist ideology, in which violent political action is legitimized in the name of the Islamic faith. The emergence of ISIS's self-proclaimed caliphate in 2014 gave renewed impetus to attempts to understand radicalization. Thousands of Western fighters flocked to ISIS's lands, and several others heeded its calls to wage a war against the West. Muhammad al-Farik, Miawand Yar, and Farid Imam were 3 University of Manitoba students who allegedly underwent radicalization years before the exodus of ISIS fighters from the West. This book historicizes their ideological journey from normal young men to dangerous jihadists and accused terrorists. But it is only partly their story. The problem with radicalization discourse is that it hides the historical complexity of political and religious life. Radicalization is a discourse in the service of the state's management of suspect populations. A century ago, the disciplines of anthropology and Oriental studies served a similar purpose, allowing experts on colonized peoples to provide advice to Whitehall in the UK, or the Quai d'Orsay in France, on how to govern potentially unruly populations. While anthropologists and Islamic studies scholars continue to advise governments today, they have generally adopted a more critical stance toward violence against the non-Western world. In contrast, radicalization studies emerged as a response to September 11th, amid concerns about understanding the jihadist enemy. Moreover, radicalization experts have often served within national security agencies like the CIA. But how would we see radicalization differently if we examined it not as an object located in suspect individuals, but as a strategy of the state? What new histories would emerge about our post-9/11 world? What new understandings of not only Islam and jihad, but also of national suspicion, policing, and violence in the United States and Canada might this methodological shift produce? And most important, what new political solidarities might become possible at both the domestic and international levels?